Super excited to be chatting with you today.
I started as a normal worker and pretty much got promoted to manager and ran that store. I thought that it was a lot easier and better to do it with food rather than sales.
It's more of like a follow an operations manual rather than go talk to a bunch of people and make sure that they agree with you.
I think our loyalty program is really good.
And it shows because that's why your loyalty percentage is above 50%, which again, I've just never heard about that, which is awesome.
What differentiates us to them is the experience that they get when they come into the store. I guess customers are more willing to spend a little bit more and continue making those purchases on a daily basis because it's more than just the food for us.
Fernando, welcome. Super excited to be chatting with you today.
I'm very happy to be here.
Fernando, correct me where I'm wrong, and I'd love to hear the background, but before jumping in as a franchisee and an owner of Salad House, you were already a manager. In total, you've been with Salad House for 6 years?
Yes. Yeah, so when I first started, I was over at the Milburn location, which is the original location. And I started as a normal worker and pretty much got promoted to manager and ran that store. I still help out and run that store, but probably for like 4 or 5 years already.
Okay, awesome. And what were you doing before you got introduced to Salad House?
I used to be a manager over at AT&T and Verizon over in California.
Okay, so you weren't in the food industry. You were on the other side of the country. And then 6 years later, you have managed several stores and are now an owner of one. Was there like a moment in that 6 years whenever you're like, okay, this is worth it. This is worth more of my time. Like I'm going to double down. I want to become an owner. And if so, what was that moment?
I like the similarities, honestly, like that from retail to here, dealing with customers, I enjoy it, and I thought that it was a lot easier and better to do it with food rather than sales. Having sales goals and all these things are very stressing. Having to sell X amount of things by X amount of time, and having a bunch of people just kind of just, no matter how good your store looks and how good the customer service is, it's always about like sales. So I think that when I experienced having that same kind of what would you say? Like that vibe of dealing with customers, but not having to deal with the whole like sales quota and all that. I think that pretty much what did it. It was kind of like natural to me.
It's more of like a follow an operations manager or manual rather than go talk to a bunch of people and make sure that they agree with you and you know you're in the persuasion all day. And the reason you don't have to do that is because the marketing, right? For Salad House. Can you talk to me about that? Like how much marketing background do you have? Did you have? How much are you doing? How much is Salad House corporate doing right now?
Um, don't really have any background in marketing at all. I kind of just been going with what Salad House provides. We do we send out mailers. We have like a little mailer thing when we first opened up where we send coupons out to all the people that lived like in a radius, like whether it was like 3 to 4 mile radius, inviting them to come to the store. We do advertising through Facebook and through Instagram and through Google. And we use I'm pretty sure that we have a program. I don't know if we still use the targetable, but we use a program that pretty much sets it up for you. The Salad House provides the content, anything that you need for marketing. They do have a team. They're helping out at all times or to answer any questions for you. But pretty much it's kind of like the online marketing is kind of on a cruise control. You select, what how much you want to be exposed and for how long, and you kind of go from there, as you start.
They kind of have that all set, right? And then you're just saying, okay, yep, run this campaign. I want to put $500 here, $200 here, $1,000 there, whatever.
Correct, and
And
then
then
you're just kind of adjusting it as you go. Maybe you already kind of saw like the lift that you wanted, and you want to focus on a different part. Then you can just kind of like adjust that at any time.
So for marketing, you don't have any background in marketing, but you also are saying you don't need to because Salad House kind of has those templates. You're just choosing, how much you're putting. And then it's 1% the franchise disclosure document says 1% locally or $1,500, the greater of the two needs to be spent on marketing, and then again, you're just kind of following that.
Right.
So that makes so it's not no longer a sales job, which I get that too. You're just like, it's so much more low key to not having to be convincing somebody, and you're just like, here's a good product, and they're coming in already wanting it, and you just needed to focus on the operations and the delivery. So talk to me about that. Like, what were the operations going from managing, like, retail stores with cell phones and all of that to actual food? What are the pros and cons that you've seen on the operational side?
Um, I mean, I'm like really good at operations, so I really don't have too many cons to be honest with you. Like I don't know if I'm the top, but I'm one of the top people when it comes down to like to operations. I kind of like it a lot. But I did I mean comparing it to retail and here, it's a little different. What I like about the salad house part is that, we do make everything like fresh. So, we're ordering our produce on a daily basis. And we get like our food orders like pretty frequently and all that stuff. So I like I it feels good when we do that just because you know that what the customer is receiving, it's something fresh, something good, and then you know they're gonna like it. Nobody likes old food, right? But as far as like the operation, I feel like it is definitely a lot easier with the food to keep track of things. With retail, there was a lot of like expensive items that you always had to like constantly be counting on a daily basis because you need to make sure nobody took anything or anything went missing and all that. So it's like a little bit less stressing, I guess you would say, through
Yeah,
salad.
some lettuce goes missing versus a cell phone.
Yeah, I would much rather, uh, be missing some lettuce over, missing a cell phone for sure.
So you mentioned like that freshness of food, because you're ordering produce pretty much every day. And I heard it's the same thing when you're grilling your proteins. Like chicken, you do so much of it that you're always making chicken, but everything else is made to order. So it's kind of, is that the same philosophy? If I'm ordering more frequently, like I'm going to give the customer a better product and I'm going to reduce waste because I'm just holding less stock on hand. And then same thing at the end of the night, I don't have leftover steak or tuna that was cooked and not give it to a customer.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's the beauty of it. Since it's all made to order, we're not throwing out, especially like on the shrimp and the steak and salmon, all those expensive items that we do, it's made to order, so we don't open it or touch it until someone like, there's a ticket for it.
Yeah. And then speaking of the tickets, Salad House, you guys do so well at focusing on delivery. Like a lot of these stores, it's 80% delivery between third party and first party delivery, and then maybe 20% is coming into the store. Have you seen similar trends with your store? And what are the pros and cons of doing so high delivery versus, bussing tables and everything?
Well, um I when I joined them, it was right before the COVID, so things were a lot different. When we joined them, there was a lot. That number was completely different. I would thought it was more like 40-60. I think 40% people coming in and 60 delivery. And I think once COVID happened and DoorDash and Uber and Grubhub kind of flourished, it swapped and it changed out to more instead of a dine in. We get our dine ins, but yeah, it's mostly all like delivery or like either third party or first party. Personally, I love when people come into the store. Don't get me wrong, but I do enjoy the fact that we do have like a lot of deliveries and all that because it lets you focus on the customers that do come in. Uh, and it also alleviates a little bit of the stress of having a certain amount of time to make the food because when they're in store you have like this pressure that you need to get the food done at a certain time and quickly and all that, and then maybe you might take a hit on the quality of whatever you're serving because you want to get it out in a timely fashion where you have a third party, and you know that they're not going to be there for like 15 to 20 minutes, so it kind of lets you kind of put something on the back burner, and if a customer comes in, you can take care of them rightfully. Like you don't have to like kind of
Mhm.
like rush through it and then just push them to the side. You can kind of like properly take care of them and then worry about like the third party. So I do enjoy how it is now, with the percentages, because we still get a lot of dine-ins over here, especially here. When we first opened up, a lot of people were coming in to order in the store, but they just weren't educated on the app and all that. So we do get a lot of mobile app pickups from all the people who work in the nearby area. In this area in particular, they have a very limited time for their lunch. So it helps them out, and it helps us out because we don't have to deal with taking their order. We could just see it on the screen and have it ready for them. And they're happy, we're happy. When they come in, it's ready, they grab it, they go, they're smiling, and we can move on with whatever it is that what else like we're doing at the time, because lunchtime is pretty busy.
I love that you brought that up because you're like, when we started out, people were coming in because they didn't know. So, kind of two-part question here. One is, what did you do to educate them? I guess the second part isn't a question, it's just bragging about you guys. 52% of your business throughout the entire system, any first party orders are loyalty members, which is over 3.5 times higher, 350% higher than the industry standard. So, whatever you did, it works. What are those benefits that you're now seeing with such a high loyalty percentage?
I mean, I think our loyalty program is really good. They offer a lot of things. There's always something that you could redeem. They're always constantly coming out with different promotions, every month, for the customers. And I think that, customers are all about the whole rewards thing. There's a reward system at 7-Eleven, at CVS, and Walgreens, and all that. And we have something similar, but ours is a little bit more rewarding, where you can redeem stuff at a sooner time, or if you come frequently, you're always constantly getting something offered to you or something for free. Um, I I think that's like the big difference on it. I to How did we do it? Is educating customers. Like, you got to talk to them at the end of the day. Those people that are coming in, uh, that was like the big part of the beginning. When you first open up a store, you kind of have to talk to every single one of your customers, especially the ones that you're seeing that are coming on a daily basis. Start learning a little bit about them, about their work habits. Ask them about their lunchtime if they have limited time and all that. And if you most of the time it's a good fit. You could tell them, hey, you know what? If you download our app, we'll have it ready for you. You can just come grab it and go. And a lot of people just kind of like that. They like the fact that they don't have to sit there and wait and twiddle their thumbs and all that, which is usually what happens when people order, in store. They kind of just A lot of people go on their phones, but most of them just kind of stare and they think every order is theirs.
They're
So
just
like it,
waiting for that one. Yeah.
yeah, they're just
You're like,
waiting and
stop.
waiting and waiting. So I think that just the convenience, and how it's seamless, I think it definitely appeals to them, and it makes it a lot better for operations, I think, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. When you have all of these orders, that it's not 15 people in your store all staring at every movement you make. Like, is that my order? It's, you have a lot longer to actually prepare it. And yeah, there's nobody waiting on you. So, um, yeah, when I heard that, I'm like, that is such a big key to be able to expand. And a lot of that is because of the marketing, the online, and the tech. Is there anything else on the tech side that makes your job easier? And, again, in operations and inventory, finances, kind of any category?
I guess operationally, the in the store we do have, we use Olo, which is, I guess, like, to process the orders. That's like the name of the program that we use, Olo. What I like about it, in comparison to how it used to be, everything is integrated all in one. So pretty much, I don't need to before if I wanted to have a DoorDash, Uber, and Grubhub, I would have to have a separate tablet for each one of those to like manage the drivers and see what orders are coming in. And before, they weren't automatically getting integrated. We would have to actually go into the system ourselves and punch everything in, even though they ordered like online. So ever since we switched over to Olo, it's amazing because everything is just integrated automatically. Um, and we get an order, it prints out on our system, and it shows on our screens. It doesn't matter who it's for, Uber, DoorDash, and all that. It all shows up like seamlessly in one, and I think it's great.
And that's also first party, right? If so it's website
Yeah, first
and
party
it's
too,
app and it's Uber Eats, DoorDash,
everything.
everything goes to one space,
Yep.
so your employees aren't it doesn't matter where it came from, you just prep an order, streamline it.
Exactly. Like,
Awesome.
it'll tell you what is for what, like, it'll tell you Uber, DoorDash, and all that, but, yeah, you don't have to worry about, like, putting anything into the system or doing any extra steps. As soon as the order comes in, it prints out on all
Mhm.
the stations, and you just get it done.
Yeah, awesome. Um, Picking a site is very scary sometimes, right? You're signing a 5, 10-year lease. What was the support like, that Salad House assisted you with in making sure that you're picking the right site, and not just pick the right site, but all the way up until grand opening, construction, build out, negotiating TI, things like that.
I think Salad House, they do a very good job at it. They do a lot of research on their end, to kind of, guide you into, like, picking a location, but ultimately, it's up to, like, the operator whether they take those suggestions or not. Some people feel like they have, like, a, better connection or whatever the case may be, and they kinda just gonna go on their route. Those kind of people, though, mm, don't always have the best of luck, just 'cause I don't think their
They're not
research
going off
is
the
as
data. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't think it's like, their research is as in depth as the what Salad House is doing. So they definitely do help you out. They give you suggestions, like, hey, if you're trying to open up in this area, there's a couple of spots here that will kind of work out. Because they go and look at the spots with you, and they let you know that if it's going to be something, you know, easy or not easy, or expensive or not expensive, based on all the experiences that they've had with all the other loadout like build outs that they had. So I definitely think it is helpful, very helpful to have them, but they're most definitely, like, involved in most of the process.
So now once you have the site picked out, how do you actually open it up, right? And without getting too much into detail, can you give us a general idea of what the startup investment looks like and how to, keep that on the lower end versus the higher end?
I would say, like, any loadout would probably be anywhere, I would say, roughly, like, between 450 and 550, depending, I mean, it all depends on the location. There's definitely ways to bring that down. There's sometimes a spot that you can get where they might have an existing hood, or they might have an existing walk-in fridge, or the sprinkler system, or any of those, like, expensive parts. Obviously, if you find a spot like that, where you can make it work and it's still, like, uh good for business, I guess you can say, because usually Salad House would ask you, like, where it is, and they'll go check it out, and they'll go look at it, and they'll give you their opinion on the location, and that way you can. I mean, in a sense, they kind of give you their blessing, or they kind of tell you, like, well, it might work, but it won't be easy. And I feel
Yeah.
like, they do a very good job in being straight up with you, in that whole process.
Yeah. And picking the location and also going all the way to the grand opening, XYZ. So, and you mentioned that before this call, you were telling me that your location already had a lot of those things that saved you quite a bit of money. That you got a generous tenant improvement, and it had the hood, and it had the walk-ins. Like a walk-in saves you $20,000. A hood,
Yeah,
wait,
exactly.
15 to
So
20.
we found the location for here. Unfortunately for the business that was here before that, they kind of opened up right in the beginning of COVID, when COVID happened.
Hmm.
And you know, in this particular area, we're like around a lot of corporate offices and all that. And that's big part of our lunch around here. So when they took all that away from them, it pretty much just set them up for failure, unfortunately for them. And they had to close down. I mean, from what I heard, the place was really good. But like I said, I think it was just bad timing on their end, unfortunately. But luckily for us, we were able to, like, find it. It did have an existing hood, and it had an existing walk-in refrigerator, and it had some equipment in there. It used to be a pizzeria, So they had some things that we were able to use, but that kind of helped on the cost and all that. But it definitely saved us some money. The fact that we didn't have to build out a hood or build out and get a walk-in fridge. And it's actually like one of like the really big walk-in fridges too. So it worked out for us.
Awesome. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the operations day to day and building a team. So, coming in, the expectation is franchisees need to be full time in your store, hiring everybody, learning the processes. But eventually, you know, you don't have to be there making salads every day. You could transition and focus more on the team and the scaling. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And I know, multiple salad house franchisees also have ownership in multiple stores. So it's kind of like, how do you go from one store and know that you've trained the team well enough to then go to the next store?
So I guess it's like all in the results, you know. I guess your biggest indicator is all the reviews people are leaving. You know, we have something set in place where customers are getting, you know, we're getting feedback from customers at all the time. So, you know, when customers are enjoying what they're getting and not complaining about it and loving us, you know, like that's like kind of a good indicator. But I in the beginning though, it definitely is a full-time thing. Definitely want to be in there. Not have to. I think you should want to be in there. Um, Customers just feel some type of way about seeing ownership involved in the store, especially when they first open. You know, whether it might be in the back making food to make the process of like giving the food to customers faster, or just touching bases with them and talking to them and getting to know their name. Personally, I know all my customers that come in for lunchtime. Without them, as soon as they come near the door and I look at their face, I already know their first name. I'm already, you know, when they're coming in, I'm already greeting them and saying, "Hey Steve, hey Alicia, hey Bob," all of them. So I felt like in my experience that building that person like that personal experience with them usually leads to more business from them, and it leads to them recommending you to someone else, especially in the beginning. So I mean, and I think that per someone who's starting a store should definitely be physically in the store at all times, as tiring as it might be. I worked for almost a year. I know I'm not saying that they should do what I did, but I literally almost worked a whole year straight with maybe like a handful of days off. I might have not been there the whole day, but I would definitely be there a lot. And I feel like that helped me out a lot now, because now I could relax a little bit more. And you also set the standard for all your employees. You know, they see you doing it, then, you know, if I can do it, you can do it, you know? So them seeing you greeting everybody and talking to everyone and being involved and actually caring about it, you know, it's a contagious thing. So, you know, it carries on to them. It sets a good example for them. They know that that person already got that kind of treatment and have those expectations from dealing with me, and that if they get anything other than that, there's going to be problems, because people are going to either complain or something's going to come up and, you know, makes things uncomfortable.
And it shows because that's why your loyalty percentage is above 50%, which again, I've just never heard about that, which is awesome. And it's also like, okay, customers are going to come back. And if they have that good experience because you know my name when I come in, like I could keep coming in every day and I don't have to just get the salad, right? Because there's a salad, then there's a bowl, then there's a wrap, then there's a sandwich, then there's a smoothie, and I could keep coming back. So it's like, you don't need a million customers. You need a limited customer but that continues to come back and is a loyalty member.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, at first, you know, they always start with one thing. You know, one of the biggest questions that people ask when they first come into your store is, "What do you recommend?"
Yeah.
For me, it was easy because I was a customer of Salad House before I started working in Salad House. So I did try their food and all that prior to working with them. So I kind of had that to lay back on, and I had my favorite two items that I usually got. So I usually, you know, I kept rolling with that, and you know, It definitely makes it a whole lot easier, for sure, and like I said, people like having those personalized experiences. There's tons of food places everywhere. We're in a plaza with Shake Shack, Cava, Dave's Hot Chicken, Chili's, Houlihan's, Chipotle,
Yeah.
Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. I can keep going, and we're all right here, but, like, what differentiates us to them is the experience that they get when they come to the store. Because we all sell food, right? You can get food anywhere. You can go to Sam's Club and get food. You can go to BJ's or Walmart, and it doesn't matter where, you can go and get food anywhere, McDonald's and all that, but something about having that personalized experience makes it easier for them, or more willing to, I guess. Customers are more willing to spend a little bit more and continue making those purchases on a daily basis, because we're all creatures of habits, you know? We all like to go in the morning and go get our cup of coffee within the same coffee place that we know that they're gonna make the coffee right, and you're not gonna have any kind of uh setbacks on your day. You know that you're, hey, I always place my order here. They know me. I'm gonna go get my stuff and I can continue about my day. And I think that's like very valuable for a lot of people, especially the working class, which is what we normally get for the lunchtime, which is our busiest time, the working class. So the time is precious to them, and if they can get that friendliness but preciseness at the same time, then they're going to be coming back on a daily basis, and they're going to keep telling their friends or coworkers like, hey, you know what, I go here and they never mess up for me. They always have everything on time, and just like that, that one customer now brought you another customer that's spending another $20 on a daily basis, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and it definitely stacks up. No, that's amazing. Fernando, this has been super, super helpful for us. Last question for you. If someone's watching this considering becoming a salad house franchisee, what would you tell them they should really understand before moving forward?
I think what they really should truly understand with Salad House, that it's more than just a food for us. Um, a lot of the stuff that I've talked about is what makes us different compared to other similar companies, and it's the experience that the customer receives when they come into the store. I think that someone who's not willing to put in that time to get to know their customers and grow their business and be there on a daily basis and see what's going on and have the staff feel like that you have their back, and like the customers feel like, hey, we could depend on them. You're pretty much setting yourself up for failure. um it's definitely not going to be one of those things where you just open up and ta-da, magic, like Salad House is known, we're just going to start making bank. It doesn't work out that way, unfortunately, in the food business. The loyalty is with other restaurants and other places, and we either have to get them to give us a shot every now and then, or completely convert them and change them from whatever it is they're at to where we're at. And the only way that you can possibly do that is setting the example yourself and being there, if not 100% of the time, a very high percentage of the time. I feel that if they're not willing to put in that work, and then it's probably not something for them. And which
And
is
you're going to waste your money.
yeah, exactly.
But
It's definitely not one of those things where you can kind of just invest and just forget. Um, there's a lot that goes behind, like behind the scenes, like picking the right staff. Luckily for me, I've had the same staff. I actually had some people come from the other store in Millburn because they wanted to work with me, and it made the process a little bit easier. But I haven't had to hire a brand new person in several years. I mean, we've only been open for 3 years. I think I've hired one new person besides the initial group of people that
what?
I hired. Yeah.
I need to pause you there. Usually it's 3 to 4 months is your average employee. Your rotation is you're usually replacing somebody at like 3 times per year, that one position.
Oh,
That is incredible. That
no,
hats off to you as a
I have,
manager and a
I
leader.
have
That is awesome.
I have like the people that I have in the kitchen right now. They've been working since Milburn. I mean, the amount of time that I've been in Salad House, they've known me, so they've kind of been sticking with me like ever since then. Yeah, I barely have to change. I had the last person I had to hire, it was only because the person I had was moving back to their country to be with their family. So it wasn't even because they had a bad
Yeah,
experience
so
or
it wasn't
anything.
even a quit.
Yeah, it
Well,
wasn't
that's
even
cool.
like they quit on me or something
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
didn't enjoy working here or anything. It's just, they took a decision to change their life or whatnot, and, you kinda just support it or whatnot, but,
Yeah. Well, awesome. Yeah, no, that's super surprising and again, super impressive as well. Fernando, this has been super helpful. I appreciate your time and good luck as you continue to grow with Salad House.
thank you very much, Bennett, for your time, and if anything else, you know where I'm at. I'm always willing and available to share what I know.